What's up, investors? I'm at an all-time high, at least measured by some standards. Uh, Kind of tying it, I guess. Not really, but I'm gonna go through all the positions. I'll show you every single position. I'll show you about the performance. It's mostly Apple's earnings really that kind of took the market by a little bit of a surprise. It was more positive than markets may have thought. I kind of thought that Apple actually beat earnings just by a little bit. I didn't think it was such a massive beat or anything like that, but apparently market took it very positively, and the stock is up like 3% after hours. I don't think that's gonna last. If it does last, I'll be out 100 or 200 shares depending on the final price on a Friday close. But I don't think so. I think it will retreat back into about 160. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm gonna go into accounts. This is a video log that takes 30,000 to a million. So chill, like grab a drink, sit back, relax. I just comment on the markets. I do my thing. I sell options. I do portfolio balancing, and I try to collect some dividends and apply different strategies to try to get to $1 million from $30. So there's no editing here, at least on this episode or anything. So just chill back, relax, and let's go through the positions. So first of all, this is today's performance. You can see it was up about $1,000 today, but then in the after hours, when Apple reported its earnings, this is pretty much the sole contributor to the gains. It was up 3,500, which is a huge gain. I don't know how much of that's going to be left over for tomorrow, but we'll find out. So I'm just going to speak about today's performance only, but if we count the after hours, I'm at 21,500, which is about tie of where I finished one time before. If we look at the highs in the after hours, I went up all the way to 203,500, which is pretty insane. So I'm going to go through the options real quick. You can pause the video player at any moment to try to find out the exact positions. All the information is contained within this box right here. And scrolling. Some things you'll notice is that the ADRs were slightly negative, and I sold some options both on the put side and on the call side against Apple. Other things to note here besides Apple's gains is realty income was up 2.3%, which is, I don't know, it's getting pretty expensive. And then mainstream capital is also gaining another 1.5%, and that's expensive. If I click on it here, you'll see that it's almost at $45, at which point I actually have 3 calls sold against that $45 position, which means that if it reaches $45, I'll be forced to sell 300 shares. And normally I don't like to trade mainstream capital. I just like to have it and have it compound dividends. But it's getting a little bit on the expensive side, just like realty income. So I may have to trim that $38,000 position. I don't know. Don't really want to, but we'll see. Some of these newly acquired shares I bought at around $40 range through options. So it's going to be $5 gain per share, which is not horrible. Back to the equities, Goldman Sachs is up 1.5%, a little bit more. Paramount, well, Smith & Wesson was up a couple percent, which is fine. Paramount's the biggest disappointment of all. Even though it recovered a little bit from the lows back down at 8 a.m., it still finished in negatives when the entire market's green. In fact, this stock's finished in the negatives for a long time. It's had negative days for like months and months and months. Look at this year chart, it's just ugly. It's really ugly. But there's a lot of value there. I mean, if you look at this, is somewhat accurate here. Their price to earnings is actually 4. And their earnings don't seem to be hit that hard. In fact, we're going to see Paramount come out with earnings pretty soon. I think next week, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm really looking forward to that number. I don't know how much of Maverick, Top Gun Maverick movie is included into that, because that was like over $1 billion of revenue, right? So I don't know how much of that is going to be included in the earnings. I haven't looked into it, but it should be included. So the numbers should be pretty massive, and I don't know, call me a conspiracy theorist if you want, but I feel like this stock is intentionally being manipulated through the short position. And here's why I say this. I think there's somebody all the way back at the Archegos disaster, I think last year, or was it the year before that, I forget. where Paramount had a huge run up. Let me go into the chart and show you. So back in, when was it? 2021, March 2021, Paramount went all the way up to $100. Obviously, a hugely unreasonable price for what it is. And then it crashed with the Archegos disaster scandal fund. And then it's been drifting lower. Like, I was fine at it at $40, but $25 is really low. I mean, I load up my average entry price is 28.73. I thought it was really undervalued at 30, and now it's at 24, which is incredible. I mean, this stock makes a lot. I mean, this company makes a lot of money for this price. I've made a bunch of videos on Paramount. I have a video dedicated to Paramount. I also made a video on Disney, which compares all the streaming networks to each other, so you can check those out. But man, that thing's cheap, and it keeps having negative days. It's down 63% on the 5-year chart. And the thing is, if you look at its stats, it doesn't really look that bad. But anyway, what I was saying was, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, I think some of the what I think is happening is like probably some big whale was short on the stock, and has contracts that are expiring at some point in the future, and so they need the stock price to be low in order to come out ahead in those contracts. They're probably intentionally shorting this. But the thing is, like, after those contracts expire in their favor, whoever that whale is going to have to probably buy all those short shares back up, and that sets up for a short squeeze at some point in time. We don't know what point in time, but short interest right now is actually really high. So, maybe I should go and check it out, see what the short interest is for that stock here. I know you can't see the screen right now, but I'm just prepping it for you. So Paramount. All right, so let's go into it. The short ratio 5.61. Short float is 9.08%. So that's pretty high. I mean, it's not the numbers that, GameStop used to see and AMC used to see. GameStop was like over 100%, but 9.08 is actually a really high number. So the stock is pretty heavily shorted. And which means these guys are going to have to cover at some point. Now the PE for the stock looks relatively high. The forward PE, I don't know why. But I don't know how they determine the forward PE really. It's just like guesses maybe. If somebody knows how they do it, how they measure it, please let me know. But probably analyst guesses. But this company is really cheap. I mean, look at that. It's a $16 billion company. Yeah, they have a lot of debt, but they're almost $30 billion in sales, so 2x sales. And they have income of almost $4 billion, so a 4 PE. It's incredible. They also give a 4% dividend. They do have some debt, but it's not like mind-bendingly high. With the amount of income they have, they should be able to pay it off. So next thing I want to talk about real quick is all this recession talk. And traditionally, oh wait, I'm not done with the account. All right, let's finish reviewing the account. Okay, so those are all the positions. Let's go into the account investing tab. I'm sitting at 261,700 total money under management here, including the debt. I've got 22.99% leverage, which means multiply that by 4. That's 45.98 leverage. Money borrowed, I guess. So 22.99% of the account is borrowed money of this market value. This is the account sorted by total return and then sorted by equity. Apple is by far the greatest contributor to the account, sitting currently with the after hours gains at 134,476. So huge amount of Apple stock right now. And then Main Street Capital at almost 40K, Paramount almost 30K, then Realty Income. Okay, so there's been all this recession talk, and like, I don't know why they're starting this recession. Plus, why is it even a big deal that if we're in a recession or not? Like, it doesn't really matter. It's such a personal thing anyways. If you're in the oil business, you're not experiencing any kind of recession. Like, your business is booming, right? And if you're in the software business, you're probably experiencing some kind of recession, especially if you work at the advertisement segment, at something, maybe you got fired. Oh, not fired, let go, whatever. You got cut and you're looking for a job somewhere else. You're in tough times. I mean, you're experiencing a recession in a personal matter. A lot of companies are cutting jobs, like whatever, Tesla, Amazon, I don't know. But it doesn't really matter. But traditionally, I don't understand why we have to not admit that the country's in a recession. It's been 2 quarters of negative GDP, which has been the definition of a recession, if as close as you can get, forever. I mean, look at his look at his definition here. I googled it. I googled the definition. It says a period of temporary economic decline during which trade and industrial activity are reduced, which is basically GDP, generally identified by a fall of GDP in 2 consecutive quarters, which we just experienced. So we're in a recession. Like, it's no big deal. Maybe currently we're coming out of a recession, but we were in recession in the last 2 quarters. Like, why is that such a bad thing to admit? Like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. You know what's funny about that? Oops, sorry about that. It's personal stuff. I googled Google Trends, tried to figure out what is the interest over time of definition of a recession. And it's an all-time high right now. I mean, this is guesstimation here, but it's about 100. So people are searching for the definition of a recession more times than ever. And I just did it. I just searched for the definition of recession. What's weird about that is that why is Maine always the most pessimistic state? Just off topic a little bit, but whenever I search recession or anything economically negative, Maine always comes up on top. They're probably like the most fear-mongering state ever. Let's see here. Economic decline. If Maine is on top, okay, it's not. Mississippi. Maine's usually on top. It's just cert only recession. Do they experience it more than anybody else? Why is that? Okay, not always. California is on top of just recession, and then Texas, and then Florida, and Idaho, and Florida. That's interesting. Some of the most populous states. Anyways, enough about that. My only point here was that I don't know if it matters. Like, does it matter to you whether we're in a recession or not? You just keep doing what you're doing. We don't know if it's going to get deeper. You don't know if it's going to get shallower or we're coming out of it. Or maybe you have a guess. But the thing is, the past is the past. Let's just call a spade by its name. We don't need to change it. So I see a lot of people talking about that. And I think it's just rearranging chairs. Instead of acting, right? You're rearranging chairs on a declining ship. The shall remain nameless. Okay. That's all the commentary I got for today. Reviewed the account. I really want to make some company videos this weekend. I've been making a few shorts. Check this out. Let me know what you think, if they're fun or stupid or whatever. And hopefully I'll talk to you all tomorrow. Friday's going to be big. It's going to be big. It's going to be a lot of options expiring. I'm curious to see where the price of Apple, after people have had a chance to digest the information, ends up at. It's going to really move my account if it ends up over 162.5, because then I'm going to be selling some shares and might get out of leverage altogether. So we'll see. It's a very important day. Hugely important. Peace out.